Hey guys, it's Stef Z again. Now, apparently my recap from last week didn't upload correctly, so I'm going to figure out why and I'll get that uploaded. But we are talking episode 4 right now. And I don't know, man. Again, another crazy episode. We start off with seeing that there are 2 bodies in the house. Now, I'm going to do it. I'm going to just go ahead and skip to the end. And we realize that that other body in the house is Laurel. And not only is it Laurel, but it is pregnant Laurel. Now, I think it's safe to say that it's Frank's baby, but I do have one reservation that it could be Wes's baby. And I know that they haven't hooked up, and I know that we haven't seen them hook up, but the fact that it's Wes's girlfriend that brings in the record, it's Wes that's being so attentive to Laurel. Did something happen that we don't know about? Will there be a flashback that shows that they hooked up? I don't know, but to me, it seems like there can be a twist there still, and I'm so ready to find out who's under the sheet, what's going on with Laurel, what's going on with Frank. But like I said, again, we do find out a lot of information. This time, we see Annalise start in jail, and we see that the flashback is 4 weeks prior. Now, I've been toying around with the idea that Eve is under the sheet, and now we see that Eve is actually back in the picture, but Eve is back in the picture in a way to help Annalise because her license has gotten revoked, and also we see an intimate moment with Annalise and Eve, and then Eve says that she's actually moving to San Francisco and that she has a new woman in her life. So I don't know, maybe that Eve comment that I had and that Eve thought, maybe that's not right, but it's still fishy to me. Like Eve just pops up and there's this love that they have. So I don't know. We're going to have to see what happens there. And I'm going to, again, try and go character by character or situation by situation rather than the way that the show goes, so that it's a little bit more concise about what we're talking about. So you can leave your comments below. You can always tweet me as well, IAMSTEFZ. I love talking about this show. I'd love to hear what you have to say. So that's the whole Eve situation. We do see that when it comes to Eve, that they do still have a relationship. We see that Nate comes home, Annalise and Eve are there. Clearly, Annalise is lying about Eve because she tells Nate she was out drinking champagne when she was actually really with Eve. Nate confronts her, and to make a long story short, Nate actually winds up leaving and saying that Annalise has an alcohol problem. And we see Nate sleeping with the opposing attorney in last week's episode, in last week's episode. So there is another web that is being built and spun in this show, in which they do very, very well to spin these webs and have these stories just intermingle in like the worst possible way to make it the most dramatic situation. That's kind of what happens, and that is what is happening. So that's kind of the story about Nate and Annalise. Maybe Nate isn't as foolish as I would have thought. Maybe some of you guys thought. So we'll see. We'll see what that happens, because I don't think this is the last we're going to see of Nate. But I do think that Nate, we've never seen Nate he might have done it, but I don't think we've ever seen Nate be spiteful to Annalise, and that's what he's actually doing in this episode. We see Asher gets his first case, and there's a moment with Asher and Bonnie because Annalise's license was revoked, so Bonnie has to step in and take charge of this case, where it turns out that this kid was stealing money, and he has a kid because he's 15. He was stealing money because he got someone pregnant and he wanted to buy stuff for the baby because he didn't have all that stuff. Turns out the person who got pregnant was one of his teachers, which she's, illegally having sex with him. So that gets really messy, and it also plays the emotions and it plays on the heartstrings of Bonnie, who was sexually abused as a child, of Asher, who was, a witness to sexual abuse. They kind of get into it a little bit. And I don't know, at the end, they had a moment there where you could tell that they still care about each other. I don't know, will something happen again between Asher and Bonnie? I'm not quite sure. But there's definitely still some feelings there. And I don't know, you can't knock anything out in this show. You can't say, no, Bonnie and Asher will never hook up again, because they might. But when we talk about Bonnie, now this to me was one of the most interesting things that happened with Bonnie in this episode. We've got Bonnie and her father, who this case touches on her father and touches that her father was abusive. That's kind of happening in the beginning. In the middle, towards the end, we have Frank killing Bonnie's father and saying, he's, and I don't know how this happened, but pretty much this is confirming that Frank and Bonnie are talking to me, that Frank and Bonnie are in it, that Frank and Bonnie might even be as far as a couple. I know that might sound crazy, but when Frank was there to the dad, he said, "Nice to finally meet you, Pop." And he said, "Girl." Like, he was talking in a way that either Bonnie and Frank are somehow related, which I don't think, or that they have a different relationship than a friend. And then when Laurel tells Bonnie that her father actually found Frank and he was in the same town that Bonnie's dad was in, where Bonnie's dad got killed, Bonnie tells Laurel not to tell Annalise that, because Annalise then might find out or might realize that there is more that they know about Frank, and that maybe Annalise and Bonnie that Frank and Bonnie are working together against Annalise in a bigger picture situation. I'm not sure, but it's definitely fishy about Frank and killing Bonnie's dad. After all this, killing Bonnie's dad. So I don't know. I feel like we're going to find that out. We do find out again that Laurel is the one that is safe this week. She is not dead. And I don't think she will die, because there's only one person that apparently dies, and that person's under the sheet, and Laurel is alive. Who is in the house with Laurel? I don't know. We're going to have to figure that out. But, there is a lot of insight here. Frank is clearly crazy, and we have, I don't think we know exactly why. I mean, I know why, because he feels responsible for killing Annalise's baby. But if you think about last season and the seasons in the past, we do see some insight into Frank's family. Laurel goes, and they seem so loving. So what happened to Frank that caused him to make a left turn in life, so to speak? I'm not sure yet, but I don't think we know. If we do know, and I'm forgetting because we're, seasons in deep, let me know. But I feel like we don't know exactly. I feel like Laurel's surprised when she finds out that he was in jail. I mean, we know that Annalise and Sam did save Frank from a really crappy situation, but I don't know that we have all the details of that crappy situation. We know Frank has killed many people at this point in time, but it's very interesting to see Frank coming around now for Bonnie, which is just because Bonnie's playing into Annalise that Frank is bad, but I don't know, like it's another intertwined web of Bonnie and Frank. Laurel's in there. Wes kind of gets tied in there. I'm not sure I trust Wes's new girlfriend. She's throwing a surprise party for Wes. Laurel's lying to Wes about it, and then Laurel tells Wes. So does Laurel have feelings for Wes? Like, you don't really do that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Laurel's so out for herself that she didn't want Wes to think anything about her and Frank, that she was trying to call Frank. So that's why she just took the attention off herself and made it about Wes's surprise party. But I don't know. I feel like if that's really your friend and their girlfriend is trying to do something for them, you kind of really try and support that. So I don't know. I feel like it is interesting what will happen. I do want to know more about Wes's girlfriend. I do want to know if she is just, walking the straight and narrow and she's really good, or if there's some dirtiness that's going to come out with her. I mean, every character so far that we've gotten close to or we've gotten insight on in this show has some sort of baggage. So what is her baggage? That's going to be interesting to find out. So, man, the Laurel pregnant thing, though, that's really, my head keeps spinning back to that to see what is happening. Annalise saying she's an alcoholic. We all kind of knew that. What else is happening? Annalise, admitted to hiring a hitman to kill Frank. But I don't know that that's necessarily the case, because I feel like I remember it that when she got a call from the hitman, she said she found Frank, and then Frank killed the hitman. So it wasn't like I've taken care of it. It was just like I found him. So again, I'm not too sure. This show is so good and it keeps you so on your toes of what's happening. We see Asher and Michaela are still together. They're defending each other, which is really cute. I really want to see Oliver and Connor get back together. We see, you know, Connor hooking up with other guys. We see Oliver trying to hook up with other guys. And because he is positive, you know, he's saying it's harder for him, which is understandable. And, you know, Connor at the end sees that. I really do believe that Connor wants Oliver back. I don't know if that will happen. Oliver seems pretty set in his ways, but I don't know. For me, they're the only couple that I was kind of ever rooting for. Like, I want them to be together. And I think it was so much because Connor's character changed so much from the beginning to being, he was like that cocky, kind of almost douchey guy, to being so caring and aware and open and in love with Oliver. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. No other relationship has been somewhat functional on this show. So that's going to be interesting. What else happened in this episode? I feel like that's kind of the gist of what happened in this episode. I really can't wait to see it. The only other thing that happened, you know, we see that Annalise, not the only other thing, but the thing that stands out to me is we see Annalise got her license revoked, you know, her law license. Now, I still think that there's something fishy with the president. With Soraya. I mean, a board member, we find out one of her board members was the one that sent that video of her slapping a client. I think it could be her. And there's scenes with the two of them where they get very, very close. And I feel as if in that closeness, if you watch their eyes look at their lips a lot. To me, there's something deeper that's either happened or is going to happen with the two of them. And I'm really curious. I don't know. Will Annalise try and play that card I don't know what's going to happen, but I really feel like there's something, like, you don't talk to your boss that way. Like, you don't get that close to your boss. I mean, at least I don't talk to my boss that way. Like, you don't get that close to your boss. You don't look at your boss's lips, like, with that intent. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know who does that. So, again, another amazing episode of How to Get Away with Murder. Let me know what you think is going on. I will be back again next week with a review, and I will try and figure out what happened to my third episode review, because I thought it was up and it apparently isn't here. So I will put that back up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave your comments, questions below. Subscribe to my channel, and also tweet me, IAM_STEF Z. I want to know what you think. I love talking about this show. So I really want to know what you think. All right, we will talk to you next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.